Hello and welcome to the Transformers Energon Buildron review. And right before we get into the whole combination processing, as we've reviewed all 5 of these already, I do feel I should quickly go over the one accessory that I managed to miss. All 4 of the smaller guys, the Energon class figures, did come with a Energon crystal. Now, typically, I remember these being blue in the show, and some figures come with red ones. Wait, look. Anyway, I'm used to seeing red ones, but there are various colors depending on the figure. So yeah, these guys came with blue ones. The leader, Steamhammer in this case, doesn't have one, even though he has a slot for one. However, we will go over that eventually. Yeah, just weird little things. Just yeah, whatever. We'll get to it. Anyway, yeah, just a very brief overview of that, and then we did cover some of these pieces before, but kind of this could be a hand or a foot. Wait, there you go. These pieces, outstretch them like that, you probably got a foot. Have it like this, you've got a hand. So, onto the vehicle modes. So, for the conversion on this lovely bunch, here's what you're going to want to do. You want to take Duststorm over here, like so. You're going to, now you could do this by hand or you can do it using the combiner port. You want to ratchet this joint outward, like so. So he's kind of mostly in combiner configuration. It's basically just a crane, right? Nothing fancy. But yep, take that. Put the attachment piece on. Let's go this side for him. Or, well, I mean, yeah. This just kind of relegates him to being the left arm. So there you go. Now it's just going to connect here and hang like so. For Bone Crusher, this is the leg configuration that we're going with. So you're going to want to fold these wheels up so they're kind of off of the ground. You're going to want to take the scoop, fold it inwards on itself, so it's kind of just resting above the combiner port. You're going to take one of these foot pieces, simply put. Anyway, you're going to take it, you're going to put this little clear piece in there. These 2 tabs here, if the camera would focus, we're going to go right in here. So it just kind of pegs in nice and snug. Now I do actually worry about this breaking. As you can see, the hinge pieces are all clear plastic. The nubs are really small, they're clear plastic. I do feel that stress is eventually going to become an issue if you continually remove and plug back in those parts. But for now, not a problem. And I'm not really going to let it detract from the actual toy itself, considering I think it's very much a non-issue for the most part, seeing as this isn't the kind of thing that most people are going to take down from a display and play with too much. Me, purely for review purposes and kind of getting a grasp on how I feel about everything. I feel like it's kind of worth to just mention that the practicality of this it's perfectly fine. I'm not stressing about it because you could just do it once and not have to worry about it again, unless you're unfortunate enough for it to break the first time. So for Sledge over here, same kind of thing, right? It's the same configuration as the Bone Crusher leg, except this combiner port, you're going to want to turn inwards, like so he can become the right arm. And then finally, for wide load over here, you're going to take these front sections, you're going to fold them forward to form feet, like so. They're a bit tight. Crikey. There you go. Job's a good one. Then you're going to take this section. Now, as you can see, it does kind of level with the ground. But that's not so much of an issue if you kind of fold it forward a little bit. He will stand perfectly fine. Just kind of bring the camera down a little bit. As you can see, stand without any issues. So for the combined mode, that's not really going to be an issue. How many times have I said the word issue? Anyway, this piece, now what I like to do is I do like to just kind of fold it up here. Alternatively, I do believe I've seen photos where it's kind of positioned like so. So it just kind of rests on the floor. But yeah, I don't know, it kind of looks ugly. But let's say that's what we go for, even though it kind of just, it does increase the amount of space that he takes up on the shelf, given the fact that the foot is wider at that point. Anyway, as for Bone Crusher is the wrong guy. This is Steam Hammer. So you want to fold the butterflies out, take the head. We're going to kind of zoom out the camera so this is even easier for us. We're going to take these sections, right, bring the waist forward, kind of like an ab crunch. Maybe that's an extra point of articulation, but anyway, we're far beyond critiquing that. Now, you go bring these arm sections in, you go fold this one all the way around, use the double joint to bring the arm up so it's flush with the side of the robot torso. You're going to spin this little bucket piece, fold the hatch over so the head pops out. Peekaboo! It's also really floppy and it doesn't lock into place. So that is going to be something I critique. Like, it just droopy neck syndrome. Whatever. You know, it's not really an issue I have with a lot of Transformers figures. But, you know, it's neither here nor there. Then you go kind of compress the other arm in as if you're transforming him into his, what do you call it mode? The excavator mode. Then you go bring the bucket up so it's just kind of above head height. Doesn't really do an awful lot else. But you want it here, that way you can plug the arm on without any issues. Next up, you're going to kind of bring the waist section up. As you can see in here, the camera's being terrible. The kind of circular port here is going to line up with the circular nub on this section. Once you kind of compress everything together, it locks into place firmly. This is really well designed. I can't say that about all three of these combiners. Some of them, by all three combiners, I mean the Energon set specifically. Superion is a bit of a pain in the ass to work with. Bruticus, the torso was a bit messy. However, that might be the coolest looking combiner. So, here we have him. Beautiful guy. Everything kind of locked in. You just want to... Now, I do criticize this on some Transformers, but you know, you just kind of give it a squish to make sure all of these ports are tabbed in. Also, quick little thing here. You can tab in this arm on this port, this arm on this port. I swear, this has to be the most stable combiner torso I've ever handled. Rail Racer might not have nothing on this, because this doesn't have a pair of legs hanging off its back. And the thing that does hang off its back is so securely tabbed in that I don't think it's going to fall apart when I look at it. So yeah, more praise to Buildron. For the actual combination gimmick, it's just these kind of clear plastic, blue and metal ports or whatever. Are these magnetized? I don't know. And I'm far too lazy to get a penny to try and tell you whether they are actually magnetic. Now, all you want to do is kind of smush it in place. It's got hold perfectly fine. You're going to want to take your other leg, smush that in place. There you go, stands his head, falls to one side. That's the good old confused dog look. You're going to kind of push him backwards a little bit. Start out the second shoulder. Whoa. There you go, nice and tight. And yeah, you know, shuffle the head over slightly. It's not perfect, it could be better, but just while you're doing all that, hope that the hand don't fly off, because here we have it. It kind of just popped off, but luckily nothing broke, right? You know, this nub is perfectly fine, so just kind of line that back up. We're gonna cut back to Buildron being fully assembled. Here we have him, and he is beautiful. Right, now, honest to God, I do not remember exactly where these Energon crystals go. So, educated guess. It's the circular sections on a wide load and dust storm. Like so. As for Bone Crusher and Sledge, I have no clue, alright? I'd assume... Oh, yeah, I noticed it now. These kind of raised sections. above the scoop. These are lovely. Tab right in there. Now, right before we get to our kind of articulation segment and the final ranking for this, we are going to do a good old size comparison. So here we have Beast Wars Tripredicus, Energon Combat Class Optimus Prime, Reveal the Shield Trailcutter, Ralph, Steve. Now, generally, just kind of going off of this, you must kind of get the idea that Beast Wars Tripredicus is tiny. I mean, comparatively, yes, he is. However, Tripredicus is a beast of engineering, especially for a figure from the late 90s. And I bring Energon Powerlinks Prime into this. This is the one that can become the torso or legs of a two-piece combiner, you know, depending on which Energon Autobot you have to combine with him. But he literally goes with all of them. That's the beauty of that gimmick. I just want to kind of talk about that for just a second. I miss it when figures did stuff like that, like the whole line of Autobots was compatible with one another if they were within the same size class, you know? There were however many combinations of tops and bottoms that you could do if you had all of them. So yeah, brilliant stuff. Also, Prime has the Energon crystal thing, which is like these crystals from the Buildron team, or any Energon toy for that matter. So yeah, beautiful stuff. But yeah, generally, scale between these is perfectly fine. As long as the combiner is generally bigger than everything else, I'm not too bothered about it, you know? I'm not going to start complaining that he's not ginormous, you know? And even if, what's his name? Tripredicus is on the smaller side, I'm not that bothered either, you know? Because he's still bigger than your average bot. And that's perfectly acceptable. And yeah, Trailcutter makes his triumphant return. We haven't seen him in like 50 videos, I swear. But yeah, there you go. The old mascot has returned. So, generally though, Buildron is this colourful mess. It's kind of what I like about these Energon toys. Even the Super Link version is not very different to this. There are some changes to, by the way, I will show it on screen during editing. It's just something to point out. But Wide Load over here is coloured differently. Bone Crusher, if I remember correctly, he is orange and brown instead of yellow and brown. Or maybe it's brown and orange. You know what, we'll actually see. As for the other three bots, I don't remember any like gigantic changes in coloration or anything like that, but you know, it's a thing to point out. Plus, the Super Link sets of all of the Energon stuff considerably rarer, given the fact they were the Japanese market equivalent. So, for the articulation on this, before we round it off, he has a waist, like so. There goes the hand. Beautiful stuff. Don't mind my beautiful assistant in the background if you hear her. Then we have the leg kicking forward that much. I pulled the leg off, that's not a connectivity issue. Sadly, the leg doesn't go forward as much as you'd hope, but hey, you know, the chunk has kind of led to this. The legs, however, do kick backwards at a 90, you know, the kind of average expected amount, and it's perfectly fine. These ports are a weird system, by the way. Legs. Alright, minus points for that one. Yep, I will complain about this in a second. I never really had this issue prior to filming this review, so, you know, user error, that's what I'm putting it down to. But I will take into account that maybe it's not my fault. Alright, maybe it's just a thing that those ports lead to. Anyway, his legs spread this much. Now it's not the full Van Damme or whatever, but it's cool, you know, it's enough. And even with something like this, you're not going to be trying to make him look too dynamic. And due to his size, I'm really kind of limited on kind of where I can hold him before it becomes a complete pain to actually show off. The shoulders are going to go all the way around on this joint. It is universal, so by extension, you get a knee swivel. You don't really get a knee bend, but if you want to use the lower part of the leg on wide load, you know, that's an extra point of movement if you count it, but you've really got to find a way to make it count. Like, maybe it's a running pose, I'm really not sure. It's all up in the air with these guys. As for the hand movement, if you are saying that grabby claw is a hand, there you go, it opens and closes. And then you've got this kind of inward elbow movement. And due to the waist on the robot for Dust Storm, spin it around slightly. You might get a little bit more movement inwards. But, you know, he's a bit monkey-armed, which is, yeah, for what it's worth, I'm not too bothered, you know, given I think this thing is, like, just purely aesthetics, and, like, it's just all about looking good, you know? I'm all for it. Other shoulder is going to go all the way around if you dare. You can kind of bring everything out of the way to get around. So I don't know if that's a hindrance to the actual like whatever, you know. The general aesthetic of the toy has to suffer, you know. It knocks the head and shoulder piece out of the way, so maybe the shoulders aren't so well designed. It's just a weird joint system. And due to the blocky nature of this kind of secondary arm over here, sledge, it's not the funnest thing to fiddle with. And really, once we plug this back on, all we have left, once the camera refocuses, holy cow, and there we go. So head is going to swivel left and right, and he's just going to do a really good job of standing there looking beautiful. Generally, this is not the funnest experience to handle. He has some joints. The other joints do what I hoped they would. No. Does he look nice? Yes. Do the original components that make up this figure look nice? Yes. Did they pay as well? For the time and size, yes. Everything about this is really good besides the articulation on the combined mode itself. So, for the aesthetics, because that's purely visual, right, and not anything else, he's getting an 8, right? He's very solid visually. I don't really hate anything. I don't care about the fact that there's not a coherent color scheme for the combiner, even if 3 of the dudes are green and the other 2 don't really look like they match. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The whole design is cool. Just brilliant stuff. The articulation on this guy, oh my. For something of this size and its age, I have handled similar stuff that is better articulate and a lot more fun to handle. So he's probably getting a 4. He's got the joints, they just don't work that well. Then, for the value for money on this guy, I paid 40 for him. Absolutely brilliant. Bearing in mind that 40 is not inclusive of postage, just maybe add a $5 on for that or whatever. But generally, really good stuff, because that puts the price per bot at less than a tenner, and that's perfectly fine with me, because that means I got him for very close to his original retail price when you had to buy all of the components individually. And then lastly, the transformation. It's a little bit hard to critique on a combiner, but if we're critiquing the transformation process, I guess that should be the whole process of getting to this end goal of Buildron. It's fine, you know, it's probably actually a 10 out of 10. Getting all of these vehicles to this point, really easy stuff. Getting the external hands and feet components plugged on, easy stuff. Energon crystals, easy stuff. You're noticing a theme here. Just generally, it holds together really well as well, because all of these ports and stuff on the Steam Hammer torso, it's truly magnificent. The arms hold in place. The head, it wobbles, whatever. The waist works, tabs in and everything. The back treads, they don't hang off and like just droop like a certain giant green combiner that came out recently. Cough cough, 86 Devastator. That thing's got a backpack for days. But generally, this thing is bloody brilliant from a aesthetic standpoint, and the individual robots, I couldn't recommend them enough. However, my advice, once you put this thing together, take your photos of it, put it on a display, or display all of the individual robots separately. Just don't move the combined guy himself. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.